everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be telling you about some of the contemporary fiction books that I've acquired recently. I say recently. If you know what's been going on with my ebook hauls, some of these aren't very recent. Yeah, I've got quite a few books to talk about, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. The first book I have is The Nest by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney. This book is about a dysfunctional family and what money can do to relationships and friendships. It's a debut novel and it tells the story of the Plum family, which I believe is made up of 4 siblings. And the title The Nest refers to a trust fund that their late father put together for them, which was meant to be like a midlife supplement for the siblings. But the possibility of them getting this trust fund is endangered when the oldest brother is involved in an accident when he got behind the wheel under the influence. All of the siblings have relied on this injection of cash. The possibility of not receiving this money is really frantic for them. Sounds like it's going to be quite a character driven one, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I've heard a lot of good things about this one as well. Next up I have He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly. And would you believe this is like a thriller mystery novel? Don't often haul many of those. I heard about this on Emma from Drinking by My Shelf's channel, and I don't know too much about it, and from what I can see from other reviews, people have said it's best to go in knowing as little as possible. All I know is that it is about a couple who have witnessed an attack and report it to the police, and it is about how those events are still affecting their lives 15 years later. I do believe this book involves sexual assault, so a little content warning there if that's something you would not like to read about. So yeah, that's all I really know about this book, but I do think it's best to go into thrillers not knowing very much. Next up I have How Do You Like Me Now by Holly Bourne. You may know Holly from the Spinster Club trilogy or her other YA novel It Only Happens in Movies, but this is her first piece of adult fiction and I am beyond hyped. This is about a 30-year-old woman, I think, called Tori Bailey, who appears from the outside to have the perfect life. She is a best-selling author who has helped millions of women with her self-help book, and she seems to have the perfect relationship as well. But her relationship isn't really going in the direction that she hopes it would go in. All of her friends are getting married, settling down, having children, and she feels like she's being left behind. And this is about Tori learning to practice what she preaches. This is a book about love, friendship, and the roller coaster of navigating your 30s. Anyways, I'm really looking forward to this book. I love Holly Bourne's writing and I'm really excited to see what she does with her first piece of adult fiction. Next up I have All the Dirty Parts by Daniel Handler, who by the way is Lemony Snicket. Although I don't always like it when people describe Daniel Handler that way, because I see Lemony Snicket as less of a pseudonym and more of a character in himself. But anyways, this book is very different from A Series of Unfortunate Events. This is a book all about sex. This is about a high schooler named Cole who has I don't know if it's an obsession with sex, but sex is definitely a really huge factor in his life. He fantasizes about a lot of women, he consumes a lot of porn, he sleeps with a lot of women. I find any writing surrounding sex to be really interesting, really fascinating. I love learning more about sex and I love learning more about the psychology around sex as well. And from what I can tell about this book, it is a really nuanced look at a complicated character and his complicated relationship with desire. I think it's going to be a lot more of a nuanced look at that horny teenage boy stereotype. So yeah, this is one that I'm really excited about and I think it's going to be unlike anything that I've read before. Next up I have Thicker Than Water by Bethan Darwin. This is about a man named Gareth who has an incredibly successful law firm. He has the perfect talented wife and 4 wonderful children, so it seems like he has got his life all together. And then a Canadian company comes along and wants to set up a manufacturing company in the Welsh Valley in which Gareth grew up. I believe that this prompts Gareth to discover some old family secrets. I will basically read anything that Hano publish, and this seems like a really interesting sort of quiet novel, and there are pancakes on the cover, so I'm definitely intrigued. Next up I have The Portable Veblen by Elizabeth Mackenzie. Now the description for this one seems a little bit wild, but it's meant to be a really original novel that has some really laugh out loud funny bits. It's about a young couple on the cusp of marriage. It's about the intricacies of their relationships with their families and the complications in those relationships. The novel explores where our families end and our own selves begin, and that's a really fascinating concept to me. This was shortlisted for what was then the Bailey's Prize a couple of years ago, and I tend to love everything that I read off the Women's Prize shortlists, so hopefully I'll enjoy this one as well. Next up is a novel that is on the most recent Women's Prize long list, and it's a book I'm sure you've heard loads about, and that is Joanna Cannon's 3 Things About Elsie. I read Joanna Cannon's debut, The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, like last year. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. And this book is also giving me vibes of one of my favourite books, Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healy. So this is told from the perspective of an 84-year-old woman named Florence who lives in an old folks home or a care home, and Elsie is the name of Florence's best friend. This book follows what happens when a man arrives at the care home that Florence thinks she recognises from her past, and she believes that this will bring up a lot of old secrets. This sounds like a book that is totally up my street, and reminds me in many ways of her previous novel, in that it is people that you might not necessarily expect to be working out a mystery, trying to work out a mystery. I also believe that Florence suffers from some sort of dementia, or it might be Elsie. One of the characters in this book definitely is dealing with memory loss. So in that way it reminds me, or I think it's going to remind me, of one of my favourite novels, and that is Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healy. And I also have Emma Healy's latest novel, Whistle in the Dark. This is one of my most anticipated releases of 2018. As I said, I loved her previous novel, and I've been so excited for her to bring out something new. And again, I think this one involves solving a sort of mystery. It is about what happens when a woman named Jen, her 15-year-old daughter, goes missing for 4 days, and when she returns, she will not tell anyone about anything that happened. She begins acting strangely, making private phone calls, hiding books under her bed, sleeping with the light on, just like strange behaviour for her. And this book is about finding out what happened in those 4 days and what's going on in her life. Next up, I have Trying by Emily Phillips, which has the most beautiful cover. This is about a couple, a man and a woman, who are trying for a baby. They're doing everything right. They're monitoring her cycle and trying their best to conceive, but it just hasn't happened yet. The woman is also trying really hard to get a promotion at work, and they've very much committed to the fact that they want to start a family. Like, they've moved to the suburbs, which is, you know, the thing you do when you're starting a family. But the woman, Olivia, begins to go down this really dangerous road where she could risk it all. That's all I really know about this book, but it has been compared to The Cows by Donna Porter, and that was one of my favourite books of 2017, so I think I'm really gonna love this one. Oh hey, it's editing, Leanne. You know when you're editing and just it seems like a whole 5 minutes of your footage is just mysteriously gone. Well, that just happened to me. So I don't know where what was gonna be the last few minutes of this video went. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I was just telling you all the usual crap, like make sure you let me know if you've read any of these books down below. Do be sure to share any thoughts that you have down in the comments. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you don't lose any important footage that you may have. And I will talk to you guys in my next video.